to be inducted into the Women's Hall of Fame. The government was in a shutdown. We were all very mindful of the political paralysis that has seemed to have settled upon Washington. And you mentioned that when you were inducted, when you became Speaker of the House and you first went to the White House, you remembered Lucretia Mott, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Susan B. Anthony, Sojourner Truth. And it is the case that those 19th century feminists believed that access to political power and to voting rights were going to unlock all doors for women, and really that was the most important item on their agenda. That's right. Here we are, you're at Seneca Falls, you're being honored for your extraordinary accomplishments, but what about politics as a way of achieving these ends, and how can we, were they right? Those feminists?
Here, I'll just give you the fuller story and then take it to where I think Ellen, the challenge that Ellen is putting forth. When I first became leader in the Congress, that is to say the leader of the House Democrats, which by the way are a majority of women, minorities, and LGBT community people, if you want to talk about a beautiful thing. I'm so very, very proud of that. We want more, but nonetheless. I went to this meeting at the White House that was going to be my first meeting as a leader. They had the Republicans, Democrats, House and Senate leadership with the President and the Vice President, President Bush, George W. Bush at the time. So I didn't even think about, you know, I've been to the White House many times as an appropriator, an Intelligence Committee person, so I didn't even give it much of a thought that I should be apprehensive about this meeting. So we go to the White House, and as the door closed behind me, it was a small table where they all were, and I looked and I realized that this was unlike any meeting I had ever been to at the White House before. In fact, it was unlike any meeting that any woman had ever been to the White House before, because I was going there, my power derived from the election of my members, this beautifully diverse caucus, not by appointment of the president, so, shall we say, endorsing his point of view, but as, and so was President Bush ever gracious, welcoming my first meeting, this, that. I was sitting in the chair and I felt really closed in. He's talking, I'm looking at him, and I'm getting all closed in on my chair, and I'm thinking, what is happening? This had never happened to me before or since, but nonetheless, I was very closed in on my chair, and I was telling this at Seneca Falls. And all of a sudden, I realized that Susan B. Anthony, Lucretia Mott, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Alice Paul, Sojourner Truth, they were all on that chair with me. And I could hear them say, I swear, I could hear them say, at last we have a seat at the table. And then they were gone. And all I could think was, we want more. We want more. So how do we get more? When President Kennedy signed this, there were, and I have these, so don't make any mistake, there were 18 members. In 1963, there were 18 women members in Congress, in the House. 18 members in the House, 2 in the Senate. When I went to Congress 24 years later, in 1987, there were 23. 24 years, 5 more members, women members, 2 in the Senate, same number. That is just a stunning thing. Like just if the, you know, back row there and over there, and then everybody else, men. Now, and I'm really happy about this, but I'm not very happy about it, I'm just happy about it. Because we made a decision, House Democrats multiplied by 5 times. We now have 62 members who are women, and the Republicans went from 11 to 19. So at least it's something, but we went 5 times, we have 62. So here's the thing. We talked about how we unleash the power of women in the workplace and how that lifts all families, and I think that that, as Tom said in his remarks, will have an impact on women being able to participate in the political process, because as you mentioned, Liz, the president talked about or the report talks about women having the freedom to participate in the political process. But I promise you this, I know it for an absolute fact. If you reduce the role of money in politics and increase the level of civility in politics, you will increase the number of women in public service, public office, government, across the board, and women and young people too. I mean, minorities and young people too. But if we're going to do this, and I want to acknowledge Ambassador Hunt, who is here, who has been a leader on unleashing the power of women. Thank you for being here, Ambassador Hunt. And her field is now women and security. So it's not, as we say, every issue is a woman's issue. So it's our national security, it's our economy. Of course, it's education and childcare and all the other issues as well. But they are a measure of the strength of our country as well, the well-being of the American people. But we can take on the defense of our country and the strength of our economy. But it is really important, and to that end, I have issued this DARE. Disclose, where does this special interest, unidentified, endless money come from that's being poured into the system? 2A, DA, amend the Constitution to overturn Citizens United. 3, reform the political process, and we're about to put forth our proposal for fair elections, which strengthens the role of small donors in the process, diminish the role of large donors in the process, and E, empower. The empowerment piece is not only about overturning these unfair regulations and laws that suppress the vote, but it also recognizes that unlimited, unidentified, special interest money suppresses the vote too. It suffocates the airways, and it really has to be reversed if we're going to. Our founders, right here in this state, and I harken back to President Kennedy, if we are to honor the vows of our founders, he said, if we are to honor the vows of our founders, they promised their lives, their vow was, they promised their lives, their liberty, their sacred honor for a democracy, a government of the many, not a government of the money. And we must turn this back, and when we do, we will have many more women in decision-making. Sky's the limit. Sky's the limit. But we want not only the heights, we want the breadth and the depth of women empowered in our country. And that will be the most wholesome thing that we can do. So I was very proud because the day I was inducted was a Saturday, and we ended votes. 19 of my colleagues were present when I received this, and frankly, I called them on the stage and received it on behalf of them because all of the reasons I was being honored, they had played a part in my beautifully diverse Democratic caucus.
Well, that's very gracious, but we recognize you as a historic figure yourself.